An ice age is a term describing periods of time when the reduction in the temperature of Earth's surface and atmosphere results in the presence or expansion of continental and polar ice sheets and alpine glaciers. The term is applied in several different senses to very long and comparatively short periods of cooling. Colder periods are called glacials or ice ages, and warmer periods are called interglacials. Earth's climate alternates between icehouse and greenhouse periods based on whether there are glaciers on the planet, and for most of Earth's history it has been in a greenhouse period with little or no permanent ice. Over the very long term, Earth is currently in an icehouse period called the Late Cenozoic Ice Age, which started 34 million years ago. There have been colder and warmer periods within this ice age, and the term is also applied to the Quaternary glaciation, which started 2.58 million years ago. Within this period, the last interglacial ended 115,000 years ago, and was followed by the last glacial period, LGP, which gave way to the current warm Holocene, which started 11,700 years ago. The most severe cold period of the LGP was the last glacial maximum, which reached its maximum between 26,000 and 20,000 years ago. The most recent glaciation was the Younger Dryas between 12,800 and 11,700 years ago. In 1742, Pierre Martel, 1706 to 1767, an engineer and geographer living in Geneva, visited the valley of Chamonix in the Alps of Savoy. 2 years later he published an account of his journey. He reported that the inhabitants of that valley attributed the dispersal of erratic boulders to the glaciers, saying that they had once extended much farther. 4 later similar explanations were reported from other regions of the Alps. In 1815 the carpenter and chamois hunter Jean-Pierre Perrodin, 1767 to 1858, explained erratic boulders in the Val de Bans in the Swiss canton of Valais as being due to glaciers previously extending further. 5. An unknown woodcutter from Meiringen in the Bernese Oberland advocated a similar idea in a discussion with the Swiss-German geologist Jean de Charpentier, 1786 to 1855. In 1834, 6. Comparable explanations are also known from the Val de Ferret in the Valais and the Seeland in western Switzerland. 7. And in Goethe's scientific work, 8, such explanations could also be found in other parts of the world. When the Bavarian naturalist Ernst von Bibra, 1806 to 1878, visited the Chilean Andes in 1849 to 1850, the natives attributed fossil moraines to the former action of glaciers. Meanwhile, European scholars had begun to wonder what had caused the dispersal of erratic material. From the middle of the 18th century, some discussed ice as a means of transport. The Swedish mining expert Daniel Telas, 1712 to 1772, was, in 1742, the first person to suggest drifting sea ice was a cause of the presence of erratic boulders in the Scandinavian and Baltic regions. 10. In 1795, the Scottish philosopher and gentleman naturalist, James Hutton, 1726 to 1797, explained erratic boulders in the Alps by the action of glaciers. 11. 2 decades later, in 1818, the Swedish botanist Göran Wallenberg, 1780 to 1851, published his theory of a glaciation of the Scandinavian peninsula. He regarded glaciation as a regional phenomenon. Only a few years later, the Danish-Norwegian geologist Jens Esmark, 1762 to 1839, argued for a sequence of worldwide ice ages. In a paper published in 1824, Esmark proposed changes in climate as the cause of those glaciations. He attempted to show that they originated from changes in Earth's orbit. 13. Esmark discovered the similarity between moraines near Håkalivatnet Lake near sea level in Rogaland and moraines at branches of Jostedalsbreen. Esmark's discovery were later attributed to or appropriated by Theodor Kjerulf and Louis Agassiz. During the following years, Esmark's ideas were discussed and taken over in parts by Swedish, Scottish and German scientists. At the University of Edinburgh Robert Jameson, 1774 to 1854, seemed to be relatively open to Esmark's ideas, as reviewed by Norwegian professor of glaciology Bjørn G. Andersen, 1992. 17. Jameson's remarks about ancient glaciers in Scotland were most probably prompted by Esmark. 18. In Germany, Albrecht Reinhard Bernhardi, 1797 to 1849, a geologist and professor of forestry at an academy in Dreissigacker, since incorporated in the southern Thuringian city of Meiningen, adopted outsmart's theory. In a paper published in 1832, Bernhardi speculated about the polar ice caps once reaching as far as the temperate zones of the globe. In Val de Bons, a valley in the Swiss Alps, there was a long-held local belief that the valley had once been covered deep in ice, and in 1815 a local chamois hunter called Jean-Pierre Perrodin attempted to convert the geologist Jean de Charpentier to the idea, pointing to deep striations in the rocks and giant erratic boulders as evidence. Charpentier held the general view that these signs were caused by vast floods, and he rejected Perrodin's theory as absurd. In 1818 the engineer Ignaz Venetz joined Perrodin and Charpentier to examine a proglacial lake above the valley created by an ice dam as a result of the 1815 eruption of Mount Tambora, which threatened to cause. In order to persuade the skeptics, Agassiz embarked on geological fieldwork. He published his book Study on Glaciers, Études sur les glaciers, in 1840. 25. Charpentier was put out by this, as he had also been preparing a book about the glaciation of the Alps. Charpentier felt that Agassiz should have given him precedence as it was he who had introduced Agassiz to in-depth glacial research. 26. As a result of personal quarrels, Agassiz had also omitted any mention of Schimper in his book. 27. It took several decades before the Ice Age theory was fully accepted by scientists. This happened on an international scale in the second half of the 1870s, following the work of James Krall, including the publication of Climate and Time, in their geological relations in 1875, which provided a credible explanation for the causes of ice ages.